And we're live. Thank you, Stephen Pope, for joining. It's an honor to have you here. I don't think you need any introduction to the audience. You are the OG in...
It's okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is just like a quick rapid fire Q&A just to like pick your brain. And but first of all, I just wanted to say like thank you for the value that you provide to the community. I think there's a lot of
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Outside on the marketplace, and I just wanted to express my admiration and take this chance for the value that you provide. Yeah,
you're very welcome, and it's all of us against Amazon.
Amen. Amen. So like the first question would basically be, what do you think, Stephen, is the biggest competition to Amazon? Is it TikTok Shop or Temu? And how do you think Amazon is going to counter the, for example, addictive platform that Temu is?
So I think we can rule out Walmart. Walmart bought G.O.A.T, 7 years ago, tried to integrate it, couldn't do jack with it. Yeah. TikTok and Temu are absolutely on the radar for Amazon right now. They're very watching with intent. But the reason why they're not really direct competitors yet is because there's no physical infrastructure for either of those platforms. So Amazon's got this thing called FBA. They can 2-day Prime anywhere in the country. They can same-day Prime almost anywhere in the country at this point. So Amazon is a logistics company that happens to be a marketplace. TikTok and Temu are neither marketplaces nor logistics companies. What they actually are is a video platform. And that's where Amazon has really struggled to compete forever. And so I think that we will see some market share gained by Temu and by TikTok, and potentially at the cost of Amazon. But right now, they're so focused on video. I don't think an American company can sell on TikTok Shop. You know what I mean? Like maybe a mom and pop, maybe an Etsy-like seller. But obviously the Chinese are all over those platforms because the Chinese government is subsidizing their logistics. It's actually cheaper to send something in the mail from China to Kansas City than it is from Atlanta to Kansas City. And that doesn't make any sense, of course. And then the last thing I'd say is Target. Target is the sleeper that nobody is talking about. It's the dark horse. They have the infrastructure, they have the logistics, and they're starting to gain the marketplace. So that's the one I would really think has the best shot at truly competing with Amazon. TikTok and Temu could be a flash pan. They might be gone in 5 years. Target will not be gone in 5 years.
So do you think that's because they have the infrastructure Target, right?
They do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I think Temu is not allowing any US sellers, right? It's exclusive to Chinese sellers, or it's just their company that is allowed to sell. And obviously that's, economic warfare in a sense, right? That they want to acquire as much market share as possible on Amazon, but don't allow, people on their platform or even like suppress certain, accounts from the US on TikTok. So
I'll give you my experience. So I tried to file for TikTok Shop, and it's not because I really thought my product would do well on TikTok Shop. I just wanted to go through the motions so I could say I did and do some content about it. I got held up on identity verification for months. To this day, I still could not clear TikTok Shop verification with a legal entity. Now, when you do it as a person, as an individual, it goes right through. So I think TikTok is purposely muddling, making it so businesses can't show up on TikTok, and they want it to be mom and pop. That's a theory, though. My experience.
Yeah, no, that's a interesting theory. So you think the US is going to force like Bitly to set to US company?
Well, I mean, the US government likes to have a monopoly on violence and on intelligence. And TikTok has a lot of intelligence, and there's some spyware on that app. There's no question about it, right? Like everybody knows, it's not a secret. So the US government is going to either backdoor their way into gaining that intelligence, or they're going to force a sale. I don't know which of the two will happen, but by and large, I wouldn't put TikTok on my own phone. That's the truth.
Yeah, I think, on the Joe Rogan podcast, they went through the, terms and services, and it's scary that they allow access to every single app, right? And anyways, like, thank you for the insight. So are you preparing your clients, from an omnichannel standpoint to sell on, TikTok Shop, for example, or do you recommend it? Or would you categorize it?
We're dabbling. Okay. Yeah, we're dabbling. So for those, there's no question that Amazon is the best place to be. It will be for a long, long time. So let's first establish that. But there's always this, like, is the grass greener on the other side? Do we need to have this position to allow us to access future sales or potential sales down the line on another platform? And a lot of people are pro diversification. I am not. I think that being on a single, where you got your eye on the ball and having everything in one basket is a very valid strategy. Even Warren Buffett believes that. A lot of big investors who have a lot of success are anti-diversification. But for those that are pro-diversification, it's a no-brainer to sign up for TikTok Shop or Temu and whatever else they can get their hands on, just in case. But keep in mind, that's 24 hours of time you're going to invest in this alternative that may or may not pan out, when you could have spent 24 hours fixing your main image on Amazon, focusing on PPC or SEO, or redesigning your A+ content, or fixing that one stranded listing, or whatever it might be on your platform, or sourcing a new product, right? So there's so many things you could be working on as an Amazon seller. And I like to cut through the thick of it and say, you know what, there's a thousand things you could do, but there's only really 2 or 3 things you should do. And usually at the end of the day, I usually say CTR, PPC, SEO design, catalog in that order.
So you're all in on doubling down on what's working at the end of the day. And
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to be the first to another marketplace to succeed. You know, there's plenty of time to catch up. You know, 99% of the Fortune 500 companies are just rip-offs of some other company, if you think about it, right? And so if you're Stan, you don't need to be first to market. Focusing where you know it's working is your strategy.
Thanks. I think you nailed it with the grass is not green on the other side, but the grass is greener where you water it, right?
It is. It's where you water it. And I've got some dead patches where my sprinklers are missing out on my lawn right now.
Yeah.
So I really live that metaphor.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth, right? And I think it's just, yeah, a wiser perspective. So like one thing I admire about the company culture of, you know, my Amazon guy is the that you have published, right? Where we said, like, where you basically visualize leadership is at the bottom and is there to serve management. Management is there to serve, you know, the employees, and the employees obviously to serve clients. So I think that Amazon studied that, you know, philosophy, and that basically circles into the next question. Do you think Amazon is killing or like kind of like squeezing the sellers too hard when it comes to the fee increases? And do you think this is going to hurt them in the long term, especially with their competitors?
There's no doubt Amazon has hit the maturity level. Is it still going to grow this year? Yes. But the Amazon sellers are perturbed. They see Amazon as a 600-pound, 8-pound gorilla that can't be tamed, that does whatever it wants, that doesn't serve them, doesn't care about them. And so that is going to create some hostility, some opportunities to compete against the monopoly. There's going to be some people rooting Game of Thrones style, trying to get somebody out of that Iron Throne who is molesting the society, you know. So there's going to be a lot of anti-Amazon sentiment.
Yeah, especially with art, right?
Yes. Having said that, I think that, you know, Amazon is going to maintain the Iron Throne for a very, very long time. And we're going to have to work within those confines. Are there people in Game of Thrones that profited despite the war, despite all of the dragons and everything else? Yes. That's the game plan we have to focus on. We have to live with the fact that it's a Game of Thrones situation. Now, there could be a few people out there that, you know, try and poison the king and take out Joffrey or whatever you might want to metaphor continue the storyline with. But it didn't really change anything when that happened, right? Like, it was still back to square one after that happened. So yeah, my belief is, I think Amazon is the greatest wealth transfer in my lifetime. Do I bite the hand that feeds me sometimes? Yes. And the reason for that is because I like to call a spade for what it is. I think that Amazon could have a lot better policies. It's a great platform, but their policies are shit. And if we could call out their shitty policies, maybe we can influence them. And, you know, if it takes a couple of seller support sucks memes, by all means, let's do it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we all know that Amazon is against unionization, which I get, but it seems like they're squeezing the sellers right now for short-term, like, you know, investor or shareholder profits, right? Let's face it, that's what, like Andy says, like Andy's job is at the end of the day is satisfying shareholders. So yeah, thank you for the insight though. So the next question would basically be, and not to get too much into geopolitics and to be too melodramatic, but would you recommend that, you know, sellers in the Americas especially diversify their supply chain with the tensions rising in the South China Sea? Is that something people should take serious, or do you think it's just like fear mongering? And I mean, because like if the supply chain is disrupted, right, that's gonna potentially cause a lot of havoc for a lot of sellers if they source from that region.
So yes and yes, right? I'm not a prophet. If I was, I wouldn't be here. I would just be investing and hedging against China South Sea stuff, right? Yeah. But when I look at situations like that, yes, there's a bunch of fear mongering, and also yes, I should be paying attention at the same time. So you know, if you are all beholden to the same situation, all of the dominoes are going to go down together. Mm-hmm. I personally dislike China. I'm very much on the record. I've been to China. I think it's a culture of toxicity, full of bribery, and I do not like the culture. Mm-hmm. So I went out of my way to try and manufacture in the United States. I'm also here to tell you I failed horribly. And so, like, I tried to recreate a holster manufacturing process. Mm-hmm. I tried to do soaps in the States with my Age of Sage brand. Mm-hmm. I have tried to do tumblers, and we still buy the tumblers out of China, by the way, but we were, you know, designing them in the United States. And I've even tried a hot sauce bottle and tried to go down that path. So like I've done a lot of manufacturing and attempted manufacturing in the United States. Mm-hmm. Until the day when China plays fair, which will never happen. Mm-hmm. So until the day that somebody makes it fair, a la massive tariffs, a la some other protection or defensive mechanism, we are not going to beat China's manufacturing. They have the skills and the labor, they have the cost and the production, and they have all of these advantages that we just simply don't have in the United States today.
Yeah.
The US population, as much as they would like to buy American made, simply do not have the economic buying power to pay 30, 50%, 70% more on some of these items. So we're stuck is basically the bottom. We're stuck in this situation. So something where, we see some geopolitical, disruption may not be a bad thing long term. Short term, it's going to be hell. So
Yeah.
here's what I would buy: 1 year supply of inventory. If you have enough capital to buy a year's supply of inventory, you will be ahead of the competitors. You'll be able to weather the storm longer, and you'll be able to pivot faster. So those are the things that I would do, and that's my view.
Absolutely. And I mean, you get better pricing if you buy more inventory, right?
Buy more inventory. Also, with inflation, you're basically getting paid interest to hold this stuff.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we just got to roll with the punches, I guess. But yeah,
you nor I can control the economy. You nor I can take down a dragon.
Absolutely.
But we can make decisions that protect our fiefdom.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely build out our fort. Okay, like the more technical question is basically with the introduction of product or like search terms being triggered for product targets. Like we've all seen that now we basically are unable to negate search terms in campaigns that are triggered, like that are triggering search terms, but through ASIN targets, right? The problem, like I see right now as an operator, and you probably see as well, is that you have ASIN targeting campaigns and they're triggering search terms that might be unprofitable, but we cannot negate the search terms because we only have the option to negate product targets, right? Which might have some profitable, search terms, but then again, like the control is kind of like slipping away from us a little bit, right? Then that is probably
this is a good example of a wider trend. So Amazon has run out of space for ads. So what's the way that Amazon can maximize its ads further? By taking away your targeting, by making you hit more bad spend targets. And that's what they're doing. They're doing it on ASIN targeting. They're making exact match no longer exact match. You get the idea. So there's nothing that you and I can do about this other than to point it out, complain, and ask for better targeting. I also predict that in the next 24 months, Amazon is going to release demographic targeting, and that's going to catch them up to Google. And it's going to be a very big change when that happens, because instead of us only being able to target based on a keyword, now you and I can say, hey, the average customer set of my Age of Sage soaps is a 35-year-old male. So I'm going to hit between age 30 and 40 with a higher bid.
Yeah.
And when we see that happen, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for everybody to increase their ad control, improve their ACOS, make better profits, make the dollar go farther. So I think that will happen. But in the meantime, Amazon's doing the opposite of that.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of like say it's for the advertiser, right? Because we just want to get you more traffic. But like on Facebook, I think you see the same thing, is that you just don't have any ability to make the targeting more efficient, right? And yeah.
So think about my problem as an agency, right? I want to go out and target other Amazon sellers. 90% of Amazon sellers do not identify themselves. They're not on LinkedIn. They're not saying they own an FBA brand. They want to all in the nether regions of the Shadowlands, right? Like it's because they're afraid of the chiming in and hijacking their listings and cheating, and you don't want to identify. And I know this because it's happened. I know this because it's happened to dozens of my clients. Probably even happened to you, Paul. Like it's a massive problem. So I can't target Amazon sellers in Facebook targeting. There's no way to target there's no way to target an Amazon seller. And Amazon sellers have all these same problems and challenges because of at the end of the day, they can only do demographic targeting on certain platforms. On other ones, they have no demographic and they only have keyword targeting. It's just a mess. And so this is an opportunity for somebody to take advantage of someday, where they can give advertisers better targeting. But what we've seen in the last 5 years is control has been taken away. Apple and Facebook went head to head. You can no longer, cookie people. Like there's so many things that are heading in the opposite direction that is hurting marketing.
Yeah. And like, absolutely, truth spoken. And like at the end of the day, it's, subtracting from the bottom line of us, or like of our clients, and because we cannot negate wasted ad budget, and it's at the end of the day adding to the bottom line of shareholders, right? And investors. And I think like the main problem, for example, I'm originally from Germany, from Europe, and the problem people are facing is that, Temu can just like import a lot of like goods without paying any, customs, like without paying any tax.
This cheating system.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like, it feels like, not to get too conspiratorial here, but that like policymakers are kind of like enabling them because they're not doing anything about it. And
I'll go one step further. They're not just enabling the Chinese; they're being paid by the Chinese.
yeah,
Our government is sold out.
yeah,
And so this is a big problem. It's anti-freedom. It's obviously against the Constitution of everything the United States has ever stood for. And this is the reality.
yeah. And that's like a fact. Like if somebody might watch this and disagree, there's extensive like proof that like congressmen receive funding, right, from Chinese companies. And I think even BlackRock now has to testify in front of Congress for investing into the Chinese military. And that's like one of the biggest asset manager, right?
A couple of Google searches, people will see what we're talking about. I mean, China has bought more of our farmland. They now own all of our pig farms.
Yeah.
They are buying up land. They're buying up homes. They're buying up our politicians. They're putting spies in our politicians' driver's seats. I mean, this is not conspiracy stuff. This is happening. And if we don't wake up some changes, we're going to lose big time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just scary. Like they're playing chess, right? Or they're playing Go. They're letting the pieces move into position. And yeah, the question is just what is their end move and goal?
A 50-year invasion?
Yeah.
Without moving any army troops.
Scary, yeah, for sure. Oh, that was an intense call though. But thank you so much, Stephen Pope. That's all the questions that I had.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Again, respect, admiration for the value that you provide in form of your content, your courses, and any last message that you wanted to give to the audience. Not that I have like the biggest audience, but if there's just one person watching, that might be a chance, I don't know, to inspire them.
It's all of us against the Amazon. It doesn't matter how big your audience is, Paul, because you're trying to add value to the world, and people like you who add value to the world end up winning because you help others, and some of them will help you in return. So I'm a big believer in what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. And then last thing I'll say is the number one fastest way to grow your sales on Amazon is to improve your click-through rate with your main image.
Absolutely. Amen, Stephen Pope. And God is always watching. So like a tradition that I stole from, Diary of a CEO is basically a question that you would ask to the next.
What question would I ask to the next guest? Let's go with, what is your number one fastest way to grow sales on Amazon?
Got it. That's a great question. Yeah. Perfect.
And why is it Amazon CTR?
No, it makes sense. Okay. Thank you, Stephen Pope. I'm sure you are so busy, and thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.